What's up, toyologists? We are starting a new session, so I wanted to hop on and make sure you guys are ready for your first classes. 5 things to make sure you accomplish at the beginning of your first class, or at least by the end of it. Number 1, take attendance. We are making sure that all of the kids that are registered for the class attend the class. They are paying customers, so we have to do our checklist of the roster and making sure we look for those kiddos if they're not in class. Call a parent, reach out to them to make sure we know where they are. Number 2, classroom agreements, your classroom rules, and make sure that those are things that the kids participate in coming up with for you. And you can write them down and go back to them and review them anytime you need them throughout the session. But make sure you're respecting yourself, respect others, respect the environment. Those types of things are good ground rules to cover on that first day so that everybody is safe and happy throughout our class. Number 3, write your science words on the board. Make sure all the kids write them on their take-home bags, and make sure they write their name on their take-home bag too, so that if somebody runs off at the end of class and leaves their bag and their toy behind, you know who it belongs to so you can get it back to them. Number 4, make sure those printed science notes go home with our campers. I've got the first one over here on our shared screen. It's the ping pong ball launcher. This is the project kit for that, and I'm going to show you how to make it in just a second. And number 5, make sure you are sending home working, hopefully decorated, but at least working, functioning projects with those campers or with your students in your schools. And I want to make sure that we understand the science behind our lesson and we can convey that to all of our students in class. So I'm going to quickly highlight some of the science words here: Newton's laws of motion, inertia, gravity, air resistance, and friction. Anytime I'm teaching about Newton's laws of motions or forces, I love to do something interactive with the kids. So a force is a push, a pull, or a twist. Or you can dance, you can do the twist. Make sure that you're getting your kids involved and interactive in the learning process though. So what's a force? A force is a push, a pull, and a twist. You can do it like a bop it game, but make sure everybody's getting that energy up and they know what a force is before you leave class today. So Newton's laws of motion are talking about how when a force acts on something, it changes it, right? So there's a first law of motion, a second law of motion, and we want to make sure we're covering that information, which is in your science note. You can learn more there before we let those kiddos leave class today. Now, another thing that Newton talks about is inertia. Inertia is the tendency of an object to continue doing what it's doing. So if I take this pen and I lay it down on a tabletop, is it going to move? Or is it just going to continue sitting there like a pin on a table? Unless a force acts on it, unless a push, a pull, or a twist acts on this pin, then it's going to keep continuing to have inertia. It's going to keep doing what it's doing. So inertia is an object at rest will stay at rest until a force, push, pull, or a twist acts on it. An object in motion will stay in motion and in a straight line in motion until a force acts on it. And those forces acting on our object that it's in motion, our ping pong ball today, are going to be gravity pulling it down toward the ground, air resistance, the air that's pushing back on that ping pong ball as the ping pong ball is flying through the air, air is pushing back on it. And that is causing some friction, and that's going to make that ping pong ball pull down toward the ground as well, because gravity is going to take over. So we've got the force of gravity, we've got the force of air resistance acting on our ping pong ball that we used potential energy to build up with our rubber band here, pulling back on it and then letting it go to make that ball move in the first place. So we're overcoming inertia, the tendency of this ping pong ball to stay in our cup by using the plunger here with our rubber band, and then that object stays in motion until other forces in the universe act on it to bring it back down toward the ground. So friction's another one of those forces as well, and friction might come into play against your ping pong ball when it lands on the ground and rolls across the surface like bumpy carpet, and that'll slow it down and bring it to a halt and a stop. So before your kiddos go home at the end of the day, you want to make sure you've included all these science words as a call and response or a summary as you're building your project. Bring those words into the context of the project building itself, and make sure you're sending them home with good information about all of the things, the scientific concepts that this project is going to demonstrate for them. So now let's build it. I wish I had built one already for you guys to see. I could have been demonstrating with it this whole time. That's what you can do in class too. So first step is to find this little edge here, pop the cap off of your project, take the parts and pieces out of it that are in here. Once everything is removed, then you can start to build your project. Now that we've taken all of our parts and pieces out of the tube, we want to make sure we pass out these wire threaders. The threaders are already going to be folded in half for you, but these are important to be able to start the first step of our project. I'm going to transition over here to our project instructions. Our project instructions tell us to first make sure this cap is on the dowel, flat side down first. Once this cap is on our dowel, then we're going to take our rubber band and drop our rubber band into the V shape on our threader here. Pull it down to the base. I'm going to squeeze both of the ends of my threader together, thread it through the hole in my project in the dowel, pull this rubber band halfway through, and then take the threader off of the rubber band. Now, as a teacher, you're going to walk around the classroom, you're going to collect these threaders. We will use them again, put them all in a single Ziploc. Now that my rubber band is in here, I'm going to bring the cap up to meet it. I'm going to take the two sides of my rubber band after I even it up. Take it like a pair of suspenders and loop it over our cap. I'm going to show you from the bottom. Loop it over the cap. You don't want it up against the hole here, but you do want this to be nice and even, nothing rotated or twisted. So untwist anything that's gotten twisted here. All right, so now our rubber band is in place. Looks like a pair of suspenders over top of our cap. Now that that is in place, we are going to drop this down into our tube. Oh, actually our instructions say to put our cup in the end first. So we're going to push our cup into the end of the tube, prep some masking tape to pass out to your kiddos, do a half on, half off masking tape, half on the cardboard tube, half off, wrap it all the way around. Once you're done wrapping it around, then you're going to tuck it over the edges of your cup to keep the cup in place. Make sure this gets rubbed down firmly so that everything stays where you want it to. Now that the cup is in place, we are going to take our plunger, press it down in the other end. There is some resistance on this rubber band, so you're going to have to put it down on the table and press it down into here. This is what it should look like now. And lastly, we're going to take our ping pong ball, drop it into our ping pong ball launcher. Our ping pong ball right now has inertia. An object at rest is going to stay at rest until a force acts on it. Potential energy, pull this back, let go, and pow, launches our ping pong ball. Now, if you have older kids, don't use a piece of thread. Let them launch this, have fun with it. Just make sure every kid goes home with a ping pong ball. They don't have to decorate it or color it. Just make sure they all get one of these to take at the end. If you have littles and it's hard for them to run after this ping pong ball, then put a piece of tape on it, take a nice piece of yarn, a long piece of yarn, and extend that from the ping pong ball to the edge of the launcher here. And then you have a ping pong ball launcher that is only going to let your ping pong ball launch a certain distance, but it's not dealing with the air resistance and the friction as much then. So I love it when these are just free and they can launch out of our project and continue across the room and let the kids have lots of hilarious and engaging fun with their project. You guys let us know if you have any questions. I'm always available by email, text, phone call. Please give me a shout out if you ever need anything in your classes. Have a blast, and I'll see you soon.